Our guest today is an artist, producer, and creative director. Her fourth album, Words Are Spells, Thoughts Are Magic, is out now. She released it through her own label and management company, Heart Lake Records, based in Caledon, Ontario, co-founded by her and her longtime partner, producer, Sun Sun. She has played with instrumentalists who rhythm changes people might know, including Karen Ng, Tara Kannangara, and our own here in Vancouver, Feven Kidane, who plays on this latest album. She has one or more Canadian Jazz Festival shows coming up and perhaps more to come. We'll get to hear her on the West Coast. So, Witch Prophet, thank you for joining me, Leilani.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's raining over here quite a lot. I don't know where it is. Are you out where you live at the Heart Lake HQ right now, or are you somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm in Caledon right now. We did have like 3 feet of snow. Well, first of all, it melted, and I really thought that it was going to be springtime. And then 2 days later, we got hit by a snowstorm. We had about 3 feet of snow, and now it's starting to melt again. But I'm not putting my hope into anything. I'm just gonna pretend like I don't notice it and that it doesn't make me feel happy, just so I don't get disappointed again if it happens to snow.
Well, here, you could laugh at me and laugh at us, because we had, last week in mid-March, we had what we consider to be a snowstorm, which is like 2 inches on a random Tuesday, the only snowfall of the year.
Yeah. That's not a snowfall at all, but
That is correct. Last week, I saw you post on your Instagram, and you wrote, 9 days till my 4th album drops. I feel just as nervous as I did when I was dropping my first album in 2018. Now that it's right around release time, how do you feel based on that? Do you still feel that way? How would you describe?
Yeah, I think I always, with every release, still feel just as excited and as nervous and scared, because you're sharing with the public things that you've worked on and held on to. Most of my albums, including Words Are Spells, Thoughts Are Magic, take at least 3 to 4 years for me to actually come through with the whole idea and then get the funding and then start recording. And so by the time it's out, I've been listening to these songs for so long that it's like, oh man, I love them. I hope other people like them, or maybe I've tricked myself into liking them because I've been listening to it for so many years. But yeah, I think it's the same. I don't think it really changes that much. The same sort of anticipation as always.
I love them too. I appreciate the differences between all the albums. The Golden Octave in 2018, then DNA Activation, then Gateway Experience. Both of those two were Polaris nominated, one on the shortlist and one on the long list. And now this latest one. I definitely want to ask you about some of the tracks and go through it a little bit. There's another thing you did though first that I wanted to hear about, which is you did an in-person listening session pretty recently, pre-release. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we did it at Pirate Sound in Toronto, which is like I guess they're like a sync agency. They have a really great studio in the East End of Toronto, and my publisher, High Priestess Publishing, organized it, and we had a pretty intimate setting. It was about like maybe 40 people there. We went through not all the songs, but maybe 6 songs, and then we also had a listening session of a new mix of one of the songs, which is I hope I'm saying this right, Dolby Atmos mix, which is
I've heard those words before.
Yeah, so it was like really cool to be in a space and be in a studio with like 14 speakers all around and hearing different parts of the song. And yeah, it was really cool. It was really nice. And they interviewed me a bit about each song, and sold some merch and drank some drinks and ate some cheese and crackers. It was very nice.
You have a history of being involved in DIY event presentation and cultural organizations, like professional and self-started organizations in your background. Like, how does, if we just look at this listening session event again, how does it compare to like some of the other kinds of events and experiences that you've been involved in curating and presenting over the years? And like, what have you learned about how to do that well?
Well, number one thing I think the difference is allowing other people to be in charge of a scenario, I guess. It's like a lot of other things are very me and Sun hands-on completely. And with this listening party, I really put my faith into my contacts and my networks, being my publisher, and asking for help and being like, hey, would you like to do this? You know, and really trusting that they know what they're doing, which they do. You know, it's hard to let go of control when that's all you've been doing as an independent artist, to really be like, well, I know what I like, so I just want to make sure that it's as best as it could be. But you do need a team, and you need to work together in order to reach other areas that you might not be able to. So I think being connected with Pirate Sound and doing it in their space is different from all the other things we've done, where it's like, one, where it's literally what I said before, where it's just me and Sun working on it, and two, where it's mostly community rather than industry and industry connects. So is another step. Every event, everything is one step closer to the space where we're hoping to be.
You have been around the industry for a few different eras. The lines between community and industry that you just mentioned are not always firm, and you would have crossed that boundary so many times in so many different ways. This era has a lot of new challenges that are different than ones you would have faced earlier on when you were still an independent artist and you were in different groups and coming up through the scene and presenting with the organization 88 Days of Fortune, which rebranded into your current label, Heart Lake Records, right? Before we get into the tracks on the new record, is there anything else you want to say about, you know, how you're feeling at this chapter of the industry? And because you have a lot of experience from what you've been doing over the years, that I'd just love to hear a bit about. What's your perspective on the challenges that are facing you, us, in this era of the industry based on the different chapters you've seen?
Yeah, I think it's a loaded question and answer because there's so many layers to everything. But unfortunately, in terms of Toronto, because I'm from here, a lot of the challenges deal with losing third spaces and losing places where community is able to thrive and experiment and make noise and be creative. A lot of things are turning into condos or turning into, you know, Rexall Rexall pharmacies and things like that. So where it's like, where can we meet outside of online? So I think that's probably the number one thing. There was a lot more spaces where you could rent DIY, you know, kick the person $200 and end up having a party all night. You know, that's not really what's happening now. So I think that's probably one of the number one challenges within a city like Toronto. I don't know if that's the same thing in Vancouver.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's probably the number one thing. The growth aspect is, for me at least, is recognizing how to work the granting system and realizing that there's a lot of money within the arts within Canada, at least for now, until, you know, fingers crossed, knock on wood, you know, governments change and funding gets taken away. But for now, there is a lot of money out there and a lot of opportunities for people to get funding and really figure out their creative aspects and dreams in a business mindset, and recognizing that is what this is, as well as having fun making music. It is a business, and how do we move forward in that? So yeah, those are probably the two things.
That makes sense. And those do sound like things that would have been constant themes, regardless of like whether we're streaming or whether it's downloads and piracy or any different areas. Those things are constant.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about Words Are Spells, Thoughts Are Magic, the album. I heard what you laid out in the notes and what you've mentioned in some of the posts, which is that there's a side A, side B element to this, where the first half of it, the Words Are Spells half, is the half that you personally had the most hands-on time in crafting and that you produced, possibly fully produced a lot of these tracks. And then Sunsong did the same on side B. Is that basically how it went down?
Yeah, exactly. The only difference is that for the third track, Breathe on Words Are Spells, it's co-produced by the both of us because I hit a wall in in producing and making beats where I've never done that before. Of just like, I just want this to be over. I don't want to keep doing this. It's really hard. And Sun came to the rescue and was like, okay, let's try to work this out. And yeah.
That's so funny that it happens to be that track, Breathe, where you mentioned that happened, because my lyric note that I jotted down for that track is constant thinking, constant fretting, second guessing. Almost sounds like that's where you were when you were making it.
Exactly. That is what happened, because I made one beat and I was like, this is the best beat ever. Made a second beat and was like, wow, I feel really confident. And then tried and was like, oh no, those were flukes. Like, am I really doing what I think I'm doing? And so, yeah, it definitely was a reflection.
I'm a bass player, and I appreciate, even if I just think about the side A half of it, the different kind of bass sounds that you found. There's a lot of good ones, including like both upright and electric bass elements that you put into those.
Yeah, in high school, I used to play the double bass, the upright double bass, for a few years, and I really, and grade 7 and 8, I really love that instrument. And it's weird because I was really bad at learning music theory and learning how to read music on sheets, like sheet music. And so I had to memorize everything and memorize by numbers versus by like lettering and things like that. And so it just took me back to that moment in time of being like, am I really playing these things, or do I know what sounds good, because I'm not a trained musician in that aspect, like really doubting myself, and then listening to it later and being like, no, actually, I really I know what sounds good. I may not know the notes, I may not know the chords, but I know what my ear hears, and I like it. So I'm glad that you heard it. It was like, good. It's like, thank goodness it's like worked out.
Yeah, those are some cool bass parts. One of the people who I play bass with sometimes here in Vancouver is Feven Kidane, who also plays bass, but trumpet on this album. You brought her in. Talk about working with Feven.
Yeah, Feven is amazing. I have been like secretly stalking her online for like 2 years, being like, I'm going to work with her one day. And it just so happened that she was touring with a friend of mine from Shabazz Palaces. I think she was doing the Diggable Planets tour. But Ish from Diggable Planets is a friend of mine, and I happened to see him posting a lot about her, and I was like, hey, what's going on here? And then I realized she was touring with them, and they had a stop in Toronto or in Mississauga, and then also in Montreal and different places, so on the East Coast. And so I hit her up asking if she wanted to come by the studio and just jam on some stuff or get on the album, maybe, if she liked what she heard. And she was just like, immediately yes. And I was like, this is great. It all worked out perfectly, her being on this side of the country, and the timing of it was really great, because I was winding down on like just the finishing touches on the album, so it was really nice to be able to like sneak her in and be like, great, perfect timing.
Yeah, on track 1 and track 2 for sure, those are the ones that she plays on, right? Yeah, there's some talking on track 1. There's also, I was going to ask you about, there's like a party on track 5. Is it called Akiste? How do you say that?
Akiste. Yeah, Akaste just means ant in Amharic.
So what is the opening celebratory atmosphere that you worked into the beginning of that track?
Yeah, so in track 5, Akaste, it is a field recording of my aunts and uncles on my mom's side in Washington, D.C., celebrating my son's graduation. And so graduation from college. So the song is like a traditional Amharic song where you're celebrating not just the child of his accomplishments or her accomplishments, but also of the parents, and of being like so proud of like what you've done. You know, it's like this is a great accomplishment for your child, but also look how great and proud you should be as a parent, being able to raise a child who is able to accomplish these things. And so it was a surprise party. I didn't know they were gonna do it. we were visiting, my son and I were visiting my family over there, and they threw a surprise party, and I just pulled out my phone and started recording everything because I was like, wow, this is so great. And I just couldn't get that out of my head. I was like, man, I want to sample this. This sounds so good. I love it. The joy, the laughter. It's like, it's so real. It's a nice memory to have. And then, of course, because I was a teenage mother, like I got pregnant when I was 18. I dropped out of high school. I, had lots of different jobs where it was just like catering jobs, working in retail. I didn't go to university or college. I really was just kind of felt lost in the ages where I was raising a child, so like between 18 and 25 or 26. And so the second half of the song is me talking about my struggles of like everything that I've been through in life, but I've still made it. Like, even with all these things in front of me, where most people would be like, that's it, you're a teenage mom, your life is over, you're never going to accomplish anything. It's like, you dropped out of high school, you're never going to accomplish anything. It's like, no, I think I have. And I think that it's a good reminder of like having my aunts and my family singing that song in the beginning, and then also having my aunt in the middle of the song saying those things of like, be proud of yourself. We're proud of you. Look how far you've come. Look at this mountain you've overcome, which also includes I had a brain tumor. And so that also includes like chronic health, chronic illness, and overcoming those things and still being here, an independent musician, all those things, as well as what I've been able to accomplish within my creative endeavors.
Wow, I'm really touched by that. Thank you for sharing that and sharing the full perspective of that song.
Yeah, no problem.
You finished the phrase of the title, so to speak, if we turn to side 2 right after that, thoughts are magic, on that track, and you finish the lyric, I believe, like this: words are spells, thoughts are magic, do the work, it's automatic. What does that phrase mean to you? What would you share about that?
Yeah, so I wrote that song while healing from a brain surgery, and really recognizing that like what you think comes true, and like you really do have to stay positive, but it's not just about staying positive. It's about doing the work that comes with staying positive, whatever that may entail. So at that point, I was feeling down about having this illness and like getting better, but slowing down in my music career, and feeling like I'm going to lose all these opportunities because people are going to see me in a light of like, oh, illness or whatever, instead of instead of my persistence or like things like that, something in a more positive light. And so that was me being like, don't give up. Apply for every festival you could possibly think of. Apply for the grants for this album, because this is right. This album is going to be great. Like, I wrote this in 2023, close to 2024, beginning of 2024. So applying for grants and being like, no, that you're right. This album's going to be great. Like, just work on that, just focus on that. So that it was like a mantra for me to be like, do the work. It's automatic. Like everything that you've ever dreamed of, everything that you've ever wanted to accomplish, it's automatically will happen if you do the work and if you focus on how you're talking to yourself and how you're thinking about your goals.
Yeah, there's this question of trying to focus on the process while also processing whatever goals you carry with you and how close you feel like you are to them. And if, you know, I'll think about that and I'll get worried about that and I'll feel like it's never happening. But like you're saying, if you try to focus on just the process and not worry about the outcomes, then you'll probably do better than if you spend so much time worrying about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The instrumental side of this half of the record, this is the Sun half, and I know there's a lot of guitar versus the other ones. You know, I think about guitar on this half versus bass in the other ones, but I'm sure you collaborate creatively to some extent on every single track that you've ever made together. But what is this second half? What did it feel like to you in terms of production? Did she produce it all and then it arrived to you as pretty much fully formed, or to what extent were you involved in it?
Yeah, so with Sun, our studio's in our home, and so if she's in the studio, I'm in the studio because I'm in the living room and listening to everything. But with guitar, the only thing Sun had full creative reign on side B, so all the songs were pretty much already written except for Secret Garden, which was more inspired by the beat. But the guitar is our guitar player that I play with live, Izzy. His name's Izzy Collins, but he's a fantastic guitar player, and we've been playing with him for a few years now, and really love how intuitive he is. And like I said, we're both me and Sun are not trained musicians, so it's sometimes scary having live musicians who are obviously trained to come in and be like, hey, can you feel a vibe? Can you freestyle? Like, just, you know, like, I don't know how to explain what I want. I just want you to listen to the music and, you know, add to it in a way that feels right for you. And then usually what Sun will do is chop up whatever is recorded and move things around, unless it's perfect, and then she just leaves it. But yeah, I'm definitely in the space while she's making the music, but she had full creative control on her side.
I come from the bubble of quote unquote trained instrumentalists, where so many of my friends and collaborators have been like that. And like 99.9% of my musical experiences have been driven by me, like physically playing an instrument with other people as opposed to producing stuff. But I heard from you around your past album releases, when you did interviews where you talked about how sometimes what ended up on the track was what you would refer to as their freestyle, which in what we're talking about just meant you didn't have to chop anything up and replace it. And then in other situations you did. And so I've been fascinated by how you've approached working with instrumentalists like the people that I know. Yeah, I think that's one of the really cool aspects of all your records.
Yeah, and I think even with having Feven on the album, I think that was one of the things that she was maybe surprised about, of just like how relaxed it was. Just like, I don't know, you're the one who plays trumpet. You know your instrument. I don't want to be like, tell you what to do. You should know. That's why I want to work with you. You know, it's like we're all talented in our own ways, and so it's easier to just be like, hey, I trust that you know your talent and you know your instrument well enough to know how to collaborate. So yeah, I think I like it better that way. It's a little stressful when I have to think about like, well, what chord is this in? It's like, man, I don't know. You just gotta listen.
You're supposed to know that, you say.
Like, you tell me. Go ahead. Harmonize. I don't know. Go ahead. So.
I think I saw on a recent Instagram story, there's 3 maybe merch items that I saw for Words Are Spells, Thoughts Are Magic, that you have: CD, cassette, and lighter. Is that right?
I have CDs, no cassettes, but I have been thinking about that. So I have lighters, I have CDs, I have records like 12-inch vinyls, I have socks, stickers, and then obviously the t-shirts and hoodies, but I haven't posted everything up yet.
Okay, I don't know what I saw.
Time this comes out, then yes, everything will be out. You can go and check it out on my Bandcamp.
There you go. Yeah, I look forward to when we might get to hear you in Vancouver. I know I've seen you're playing the Ottawa Jazz Fest and that Feven is actually going to join you on that show. Are there any other upcoming live performances that you want to point to right now, or we wait and see as the rollout continues?
Yeah, we're doing the Skeleton Arts Fest in Kingston. Feven's going to be playing that as well. That is June the 20th. I might have another show around the same time that you'll see on my Instagram if it does get announced anytime soon. And then, of course, Departure Festival in Toronto, May 4th or May 6th.
Nice. Is there anything or anyone else that's on your mind right now before we wrap you wanted to shout out or point to?
Shout out Tara Kannangara, who's also on the album. She does a fantastic job. We worked together on Gateway Experience, and I just wanted to bring her back because she's fantastic. So shout out to her, Sun, Izzy, Feven, Imabet, who mastered it. Heart Lake Records. Ontario Arts Council, Canada Council, Ontario Creates, all the funding people. Yeah.
Nice. I'm your fan out here on the West Coast. I haven't heard you live. I very much look forward to the first time I get to when I get to meet and hear you. So thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thanks for having me.